Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolitz. Hoping that you will not skip my ads. It's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
Zane Martel's eyes scanned the chaotic battlefield, the verdant frog cloud swirling ominously above. His contract with the verdant frogs granted him insight into their primal thoughts and instincts. He could feel their hunger, their insatiable desire for more than just flesh and blood. The battlefield was littered with the remnants of battle, shattered weapons, and the fallen bodies of the Liu family and Godwill sect disciples. The air was thick with the smell of blood and the metallic scent of fear, mingling with the earthy aroma of the verdant frogs. Their presence was overwhelming, a dark cloud of death that blotted out the sun.
Are you guys interested in the 8-element devil subduing formation?
The verdant frogs buzzed with anticipation, their desire almost palpable. They had feasted on weapons, flesh, and spiritual objects, mutating with each bite. Their bodies had grown larger, their exoskeletons harder, and their eyes more intelligent. They communicated through a series of clicks and buzzes, a cacophony that filled Zane's mind with images of hunger and destruction. Now their focus shifted to the 8-element devil-subduing formation, an irresistible source of energy. Zane could feel their eagerness, their desire to consume the potent energy that the formation held.
Go ahead and devour all the energy.
With a ferocious buzz, over 30,000 verdant frogs surged forward, their saw-like teeth gnashing through the air. They descended upon the Liu family and Godwill sect disciples, their sheer numbers inducing a paralyzing fear. The disciples' eyes widened in horror as the swarm approached, their movements frantic as they tried to fend off the inevitable. The verdant frogs moved with a single-minded determination, their hunger driving them forward.
What the hell are these things? Where did they come from?
The verdant frogs reached the formation, their bodies glowing with a faint, sickly green light. Their mouths opened, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth that tore through flesh and bone with ease. Screams filled the air as the disciples were overwhelmed, their bodies disappearing beneath the swarm. The formation itself began to flicker and waver, the energy being drained away by the insatiable horde.
They're devouring the formation's energy. Replenish it, or Gabriel Stone will break free.
But it was too late. The bugs overwhelmed their targets, leaving no time to strengthen the formation. Screams filled the air as flesh was torn from bone. The formation wavered, two colossal black fist shadows flickering ominously in the sky. The energy of the formation was being sucked dry, the protective barrier weakening with each passing second.
Break it for me.
With a powerful punch, Gabriel shattered the formation, sending a shockwave that hurled bodies across the battlefield, blood spraying from their mouths. The ground shook with the force of his blow, the remnants of the formation crumbling to dust. Gabriel's eyes locked onto the head of the Liu family, his fierce gaze freezing the man in terror. The air was filled with the sounds of battle, the cries of the dying, and the victorious roars of the verdant frogs.
No.
Desperation drove the head of the Liu family to flee, transforming into a streak of light soaring into the sky. But Gabriel was relentless. He stomped the ground, launching himself forward and clasping his palms around the man's skull. The head of the Liu family felt a crushing pressure, his vision blurring as Gabriel's grip tightened.
Escaping? Not a chance. Die.
A sickening crack echoed as the skull burst, blood and brain matter spraying. The head of the Liu family, once a powerful 7th stage advanced level, was reduced to a lifeless husk in Gabriel's hands. The man's body went limp, falling to the ground with a dull thud. Gabriel stood over him, breathing heavily, his eyes wild with the thrill of victory. The battlefield fell silent for a moment, the only sound the buzzing of the verdant frogs as they continued to feast on the remains of their enemies.
Finally, the Liu family will feel my pain. Kill them all.
Gabriel's fists flew, each strike claiming a life. His movements were fluid and powerful, each punch a death sentence for his enemies. Blood sprayed from his fists as he tore through the Liu family and Godwill sect disciples. Their desperate cries for mercy fell on deaf ears. Gabriel's eyes were wild with fury, his face a mask of vengeance. Meanwhile, Zane wielded his Black Abyss sword with deadly precision, his sword energy slicing through martial artists like a hot knife through butter. Each slash of his blade was met with a gush of blood, and the lifeless bodies of his foes crumpled to the ground. The verdant frogs, now a ravenous swarm, left no bones behind. Their saw-like teeth gnawed through flesh and bone with ease, leaving nothing but a gruesome mess in their wake. The battlefield was a symphony of screams and the sickening crunch of bones. Amidst the carnage, Scarlet stood motionless, her eyes blank as she watched her family slaughtered. Betrayed and used, she felt nothing for the Leo family anymore. Her heart had hardened, turning cold and unfeeling. The once grand courtyard of the Leo mansion was now a massacre ground, corpses littering the blood-soaked earth. The grandeur of the mansion was now a haunting backdrop to the brutal slaughter. Zane showed no mercy. Those who had sought to kill him were now paying the ultimate price. With each kill, he absorbed their blood energy, talent, and vital energy, his power growing with every life he took. His aura became more intense, more formidable with every passing moment. The energy coursing through him was palpable, a testament to the lives he had claimed.
They wanted to use me as a blood sword. Now they'll pay for their cruelty.
An explosive air blast signaled Zane's breakthrough to the 4th stage of the advanced level. Despair gripped the remaining disciples of the Leo family and the Godwill sect. Their eyes widened in horror, their hopes of survival dwindling.
If I die, I'll take you with me.
A Godwill sect disciple on the 7th stage of the advanced level charged at Zane, his spirit body glowing with destructive intent. The energy around him crackled with intensity, his determination to take Zane down evident in his eyes.
Stephen, be careful. He's going to self-destruct.
Zane dodged swiftly, his black abyss sword slicing through the spirit body, extinguishing it and killing the disciple. The depths of the Liu mansion were now a sea of blood, the water and the ground alike stained crimson. The once mighty Leo family lay decimated, their power and eastern palm broken beyond repair. The walls, once pristine, were now painted with the blood of the fallen. Scarlet surveyed the carnage, her emotions a turbulent storm. The people who had once been her elders and friends were now lifeless bodies. Used and betrayed, she felt a complex mix of sorrow and justice. Her mind replayed the moments of betrayal, the lies and deceit that had led to this moment.
Stephen, don't worry. My martial arts essence won't collapse. The Leo family deserved this fate. I'll explain everything to the Zan sect elders. They won't blame you for this.
Zane nodded, understanding her resolve. Gabriel, covered in blood, approached, his presence imposing. His eyes were still filled with the flames of vengeance, but there was a flicker of something else, a recognition of Scarlet's resolve.
Senior, Scarlet is not our enemy.
As Gabriel's intimidating aura washed over them, the air thick with tension, the question hung in the balance. Would Gabriel's thirst for revenge blind him to friend and foe alike? The fate of Scarlet and the remnants of the Liu family teetered on the edge of his next move. The battlefield held its breath, waiting for his decision. The air was tense as Gabriel Stone stood, unwavering, in the midst of uncertainty. The room was silent, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. His voice, calm and composed, pierced the silence, offering a sense of reassurance to those around him.
Don't worry. I know she's different from those unreasonable Liu family members. I won't harm the innocent.
Zane Martel exhaled a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Relief washed over his features, his shoulders relaxing slightly as the weight of his worries lifted, if only for a moment.
Thank you, Gabriel. It's a relief to hear you say that.
Zane's mind raced back to the countless nights he spent worrying about the Leo family's wrath. He remembered the sleepless nights, the constant vigilance, and the fear that one wrong move would spell disaster. Gabriel's words were like a balm to his troubled soul, soothing the anxiety that had taken root deep within him. At that moment, Gabriel extended his hand toward Zane, his eyes fixed on the sword at Zane's side. The air seemed to crackle with a newfound energy, a sense of purpose that resonated between them.
May I see the Black Abyss sword?
Zane hesitated for a brief second before nodding and handing over the sword. He could feel the weight of the blade as he passed it to Gabriel, the sword's history and significance heavy in his hands. The moment Gabriel gripped it, a surge of familiarity washed over him. He could feel the power emanating from the blade, a power he had not sensed in a long time. Gabriel's grip tightened around the hilt, the sword's essence resonating with his own. Memories of battles fought and victories won flashed through his mind, each one a testament to the bond he shared with the weapon. The room seemed to hold its breath, the anticipation thickening as everyone waited for what would happen next. Suddenly, a spectral figure emerged from the sword, Mr. Black, a spirit bound to the weapon. His presence was both eerie and comforting, a reminder of the past and a promise of strength.
Black Abyss, it's been a while.
Even though Gabriel's current form was that of a puppet, infused with life yet seemingly rigid and lifeless, his voice carried a deep sense of nostalgia and longing. The faint runes on his wooden body glowed subtly, hinting at his true nature and the immense power within.
Master, how did you become like this?
Gabriel's transformation was indeed a mystery. His body, though powerful, resembled nothing more than a piece of enchanted wood. Yet within that wooden form lay a spirit of immense strength and wisdom. The runes that adorned his body were ancient and powerful, each one a testament to the magic that had given him life. Zane and Scarlet, sensing the gravity of the moment, instinctively stepped back to give Gabriel and Mr. Black the space they needed. The air was thick with unspoken words and heavy emotions. Zane's mind raced with questions, each one more pressing than the last. How had Gabriel come to be in this form? What trials had he faced? And what did it mean for their future? Half an hour passed, the longest half hour Zane had ever experienced. Every tick of the clock seemed to drag on, the suspense nearly unbearable. Gabriel finally returned, his steps measured and deliberate, the Black Abyss sword still in his hand. He handed it back to Zane, his expression unreadable. Mr. Black's voice echoed from within the sword once more.
Zane, my master's spirit remnant soul is unstable. I am merging with him. From now on, I will be my master, and he will be me. You must continue on your own.
Zane stood, stunned, his mind racing to process the sudden revelation. The abruptness of it all left him momentarily speechless. He couldn't fathom the implications of Mr. Black's words. The idea of Mr. Black and Gabriel becoming one entity was both unsettling and profound. How would this affect their dynamic? What would it mean for their mission moving forward?
Mr. Black, are you merging with Senior? Is there no other way?
Zane's voice trembled slightly as he grappled with the reality unfolding before him. The thought of losing Mr. Black, even if it meant gaining Gabriel, was a hard pill to swallow. Mr. Black had been his guide, his mentor, and in many ways, his friend. The idea of his existence being consumed in this merger filled Zane with a profound sense of loss. Mr. Black, sensing Zane's distress, sighed deeply. His voice, though steady, carried a hint of resignation and acceptance. It was clear that this was a path he had long anticipated and accepted as his fate.
I was always a remnant of Master Gabriel's spirit, sealed in the Black Abyss sword. This is my destiny. You must be strong, protect others, keep moving forward. You can do it.
The words were like a final farewell, a reassurance meant to bolster Zane in the face of the challenges that lay ahead. Zane, though reluctant, respected Mr. Black's decision. He knew that sometimes destiny had its own plans and one had to find the strength to follow through, no matter how difficult it seemed.
If that's the case, let me protect you during the process.
As Zane and Scarlet stood guard, the Black Abyss sword in Gabriel's hand pulsed with a radiant energy. The room seemed to vibrate with the power emanating from the merging of souls. Mr. Black's essence began to merge into Gabriel, transforming into a wisp of smoke that slowly entered his body. A red spirit flickered between Gabriel's brows, growing stronger with each passing moment, yet it still appeared fragile, like a delicate flame that could be extinguished by the slightest breeze.
Could Senior Gabriel's spirit be incomplete?
The question hung in the air, unspoken fears manifesting in Scarlet's whispered words. The red light intensified, merging completely. Gabriel, now with Mr. Black's memories, approached Zane with a newfound clarity and determination in his eyes. The transformation was complete, and with it, a new sense of purpose was born.
Larry, I've inherited Black Abyss's memories. I know what you've done. I owe you a great debt.
Zane was taken aback. He had only acted on a promise to Mr. Black, never expecting anything in return. The sincerity in Gabriel's voice made him feel both humble and honored. The merging had not only combined their powers, but also their memories, creating a being who understood the depth of Zane's actions.
Senior, it was nothing. Just a coincidence.
No coincidence to Mr. Black. I owe you. Let me help you.
Zane's mind raced. Gabriel's strength, now at the peak of the 9th stage of the advanced level, was formidable. Having him as an ally was invaluable, especially with the challenges that lay ahead. The thought of facing future battles with Gabriel by his side filled Zane with a renewed sense of hope and determination.
If that's the case, please stay by my side and help me save Elora.
Sure. I'll stay with you for 10 years. Then we'll be even. Deal?
Overjoyed, Zane accepted. With Gabriel's aid, his confidence soared. He knew that with Gabriel by his side, their chances of success were significantly higher. After bidding farewell to Scarlet, they left the chaotic Leo mansion, heading back to the Dark Wolf Hall. Scarlet, casting a final look at the mansion, resolved never to return. As they journeyed, a shadow loomed over their path. What new trials awaited them? The future was uncertain, the stakes higher than ever. Only time would reveal the challenges that lay ahead. But one thing was certain, their journey was far from over. Zane Martell and Gabriel Stone returned to the Dark Wolf Hall courtyard. It had been 5 days since the sect contest ended, and many sects still lingered in the Imperial capital, captivated by its allure. The Imperial capital, the most prosperous city in Eastern Palm, was a magnet. The streets bustled with merchants, performers, and nobles, each corner teeming with life. The aroma of exotic spices wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of lively chatter and the clinking of coins. Many sects and forces stayed, immersing themselves in its vibrant life, eager to experience the capital's opulence and splendor. As Zane led Gabriel through the back garden, they encountered several disciples. The atmosphere shifted as the disciples noticed Zane. The once casual murmurs of conversation ceased, replaced by hushed whispers and quick glances of curiosity and respect. The path through the garden was lined with blooming flowers and ancient trees, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze, casting dappled shadows on the ground.
Your Highness Stephen.
Your Highness Stephen.
Your Highness Stephen.
Zane's victory in the sect contest commanded respect, transforming even the once hostile wolf princes and princesses. His unparalleled skills and strategic mind had earned him the admiration and awe of his peers. Only Owen Brooks' disdain persisted, puzzling Zane. Owen's eyes followed Zane with a lingering hostility, a silent promise of future confrontation. Ignoring the disciples, Zane acknowledged them with a nod. The whispers about Gabriel, who followed Zane like a puppet, grew louder. Gabriel's wooden form moved with an eerie precision, his abstract facial features betraying no emotion. Yet the runes etched into his body glowed faintly, hinting at the power within.
Is His Highness Stephen obsessed with puppets now?
Seems like it. He's always been unpredictable.
Keep quiet and get back to work.
Zane reached an elegant courtyard, a reward for his victory. The courtyard, though modest in size, was a haven of tranquility. A small pond in the center reflected the sky, surrounded by carefully manicured gardens and winding stone paths. Though modest in size, it boasted all necessary facilities. Here his Blade Squad resided, and Katie had also taken up residence without seeking Zane's permission, a move he didn't mind. The buildings were constructed with fine craftsmanship, each detail speaking of the care and resources invested in their creation. As Zane arrived, Kevin White and Katie hurried to greet him. Their expressions were a mix of relief and excitement, clearly pleased to see their leader return safely.
Your Highness Stephen.
Your Highness Stephen.
Larry Shaw, you're back. You've been out a lot lately. Where have you been?
Katie's eyes landed on Gabriel, and her enthusiasm turned to confusion. Her brows furrowed as she took in the sight of the puppet-like figure standing motionlessly behind Zane. Gabriel's wooden body was intricately carved with joints that seemed almost lifelike. The runes on his form pulsed faintly, hinting at the hidden power within him.
Is that a puppet? Since when did you start using a puppet?
Zane called Kevin to gather everyone and address them sternly. His voice carried a weight of authority, leaving no room for doubt or disobedience. The Blade Squad members quickly assembled, their expressions a mix of curiosity and respect.
Listen up, everyone. This is Senior Gabriel Stone. Treat him with the same respect you show me. Do not call him a puppet. If you do, even if I don't punish you, Senior Gabriel will make sure you regret it.
The Blade Squad and Katie exchanged curious glances, trying to understand Gabriel's significance. They noticed Gabriel's wooden form and mysterious runes, unable to gauge his cultivation route. The atmosphere was thick with curiosity and a hint of unease, as the squad members speculated on the true nature of their new companion. Whispers spread through the group, each member trying to piece together the story behind Gabriel's presence. Zane chose a room for Gabriel, and they entered for a private conversation. The room was modest but well furnished, with a small wooden table and chairs, lit by the soft glow of lanterns. Zane carefully closed the door behind them, ensuring their privacy. He turned to face Gabriel, the weight of the Black Abyss sword in his hands. Its dark, ominous aura seemed to hum with latent power.
Senior, this Black Abyss sword belongs to you. Though I've used it, it's rightfully yours.
Gabriel accepted the sword, a familiar power stirring within him as he wielded it. His wooden fingers curled around the hilt with a sense of purpose and reverence, as if reacquainting with an old friend. The runes on his body glowed brighter, resonating with the sword's energy. A faint, almost imperceptible smile crossed Gabriel's face, a reflection of the bond he once shared with the weapon. Gabriel sighed, his grip loosening as he handed the sword back to Zane.
Do I still deserve the title of King Sword? The Black Abyss sword belongs to you now.
Zane was shocked, his eyes wide as he tried to refuse the sword, but Gabriel's actions stopped him. The atmosphere grew thick with anticipation as a red light enveloped the sword, draining its essence. Gabriel's expression remained calm, but his eyes were filled with a deep sadness and determination. The red light seemed to pulse in time with Zane's heartbeat, creating an unspoken connection between the sword and its new master. Suddenly, a sharp sword energy emanated from the blade, cutting Zane's hand. Blood dripped onto the Black Abyss sword, infusing it with new power. The room was filled with a tangible, electrifying energy as the sword began to transform.
Senior, what are you?
Don't ask, just watch.
The sword transformed before their eyes, shrinking and gaining new features. It became more streamlined, lighter, and easier to wield. Golden and silver lines extended from the hilt to the tip of the blade, giving it a majestic and formidable appearance. Gabriel explained the change, his voice steady and filled with a sense of finality.
The Black Abyss sword absorbed my blood essence in the past, but now it has your essence. It no longer belongs to me, but to you.
I'll call it the Sky-Killing Sword.
A fitting name. It shows your strong martial spirit.
Zane's curiosity piqued. He asked about Gabriel's imprisonment. The room seemed to darken as the weight of Gabriel's past settled over them.
Senior, why were you imprisoned in the Leo Mansion? What happened after you banned the Five Spirits sect?
Gabriel's anger flared, raising the room's temperature. His wooden form seemed to tremble with the force of his emotions. He revealed his betrayal by the Godwill sect and the Liu family, who tried to refine him into a puppet. His voice was laced with bitterness and pain. Gabriel's strength made complete refinement impossible, leading to his spirit being split and trapped. The betrayal and torture he endured were evident in his every word. Hearing this, Zane's rage mirrored Gabriel's past torment. His fists clenched and his eyes burned with determination.
Godwill sect. I'll never forgive them.
Zane, sharing a common enemy with Gabriel, proposed a plan, seeking Gabriel's assistance. His voice was filled with resolve and a burning desire for justice.
Senior, we share a feud with the Godwill sect. I have a plan, but I'll need your help.
As Gabriel pondered Zane's words, the weight of their shared vengeance hung in the air. What would their next move be? The path to revenge had begun, but its twists and dangers remained unseen. In the heart of Kintyre County, 2 days later, about 2 kilometers from the Azure Dragon Academy, Zane Martel rented a private room in a bustling tea house. He sat alone, anticipation lining his features, and ordered some fine tea, quietly waiting for someone. The room was small but comfortable, with a adorned with traditional decor that spoke of a long history. The aroma of freshly brewed tea filled the air, mingling with the distant chatter of patrons and the clinking of porcelain. The tea house was known for its exceptional tea and tranquil ambience, a perfect place for discreet meetings. Zane had chosen this location for its privacy and the ease with which one could observe the comings and goings of the bustling street outside through the partially open window. He sipped his tea, savoring the rich flavor, while his mind raced with thoughts of the impending meeting. Zane's thoughts drifted back to the conversation he'd had with Caleb Pierce 3 days ago. He remembered the earnest look in Caleb's eyes when he had explained why he joined the Godwill sect. Caleb felt guilty for not being able to help Zane in the peace negotiation hall, and joining the sect was his way of making amends and getting closer to rescuing Elora, another key figure in their shared past. His wait wasn't long. A knock echoed through the room, breaking his reverie. It was a soft but deliberate knock, signaling the arrival of his expected guests. Zane Martell rose and opened the door to reveal Caleb Pierce, accompanied by a veiled woman. Zane's eyes immediately recognized Caleb, his friend and ally, but it was the presence of the veiled woman that truly caught his attention. She carried herself with a quiet strength, her movements deliberate and graceful. Even through the veil, her aura of power was unmistakable.
Ah, Caleb Pierce. What a pleasant surprise.
Zane, good to see you.
Yet behind Caleb Pierce lurked another figure, veiled in mystery, Beth. Zane's heart quickened. He had hoped she would come, but seeing her in person, knowing the risk she took just by being here, filled him with both relief and trepidation. Beth, at least in her late 20s, was known for her formidable skills and her steadfast loyalty to her own cause.
And who do we have here?
You didn't think I'd miss this, did you?
With a sense of relief, Zane Martell ushered them inside. The room seemed to grow warmer with their presence, the air thick with unspoken words and the weight of what was to come. Zane closed the door behind them, sealing off their meeting from the prying eyes and ears of the outside world. It was time to reveal his plan, a plan forged in the fires of urgency and necessity. He had spent countless hours devising every detail, knowing that any misstep could lead to disaster. He gestured for them to sit, and once they were settled, he began.
Beth, I'm glad you could make it. You understand the stakes, I presume.
Beth nodded, her eyes never leaving Zane's face. She had heard of the dangers that lurked within the Godwill sect, and she knew that aligning herself with Zane was a gamble, but one she was willing to take if it meant survival.
Of course. Let's get to it. What's the plan?
Zane Martell laid bare the grim reality. The Godwill sect, under Sebastian's sinister grip, sought to exploit Beth's burgeoning power for their own ends. He detailed the threat posed by Sebastian, a figure known for his ruthless ambition and unrelenting quest for power. Beth listened intently, her expression hardening with each revelation.
Sebastian won't rest until he has drained you dry. Your powers are a tool to him, nothing more.
But why was Zane Martell so invested in saving Beth? His motives, shrouded in secrecy, masked a deeper truth, a truth he dared not utter. His connection to Elora, a powerful figure also sought by the sect, was a secret he had to protect at all costs. Revealing his true reasons could jeopardize everything they were working towards.
Trust me, Beth. I won't let any harm befall you.
Beth's suspicion lingered like a shadow, casting doubt upon Zane Martell's true intentions. She had been burned before by those who sought to use her, and trust was not easily given.
And why should I believe you? What's your angle in all this?
Beth's suspicion lingered like a shadow, casting doubt upon Zane Martell's true intentions. She had learned the hard way that trust was a luxury she could rarely afford. The tension crackled in the air, thick with unspoken truths and whispered betrayals. Zane knew he had to tread carefully. He couldn't afford to alienate Beth now, not when they were so close to uncovering the Godwill sect's plans and rescuing those in peril. As Beth's eyes bore into him, Zane felt the weight of her scrutiny. He understood her doubts, but hoped that his actions would speak louder than his guarded words. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but it was a path they had to walk together, for the stakes were too high for any of them to go it alone. The room seemed to close in around them, the walls echoing with the unspoken fears and the gravity of the mission they were about to undertake. Zane knew that every second counted, and that trust, fragile as it was, needed to be forged in the fires of their shared peril.
I can't reveal everything, but I assure you, I mean you no harm.
Zane's voice was firm, But beneath the surface, his heart pounded with the weight of his concealed truths. He couldn't afford to let Beth's mistrust derail their mission. He needed her to believe in his intentions, if not fully, then enough to move forward. Yet Beth's accusations cut deeper than expected, unearthing buried secrets and forgotten vendettas that Zane had hoped to leave behind.
Do you think I'm blind? The Godwill sect hunts those like me, and suddenly you appear with a plan to save us? Suspicious, don't you think?
The tension crackled in the air, thick with unspoken truths and whispered betrayals. Beth's eyes were like daggers, piercing through Zane's facade. She had been through too much, seen too many false promises to take his words at face value. The flickering light of the lantern cast long shadows across the room, mirroring the darkness that loomed over their hearts.
You're mistaken. I'm just trying to do what's right.
Zane's deflection was swift, but it only fueled Beth's suspicion. She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she prepared to deliver a revelation that would shatter the fragile facade they had constructed. Her voice dropped to a whisper, yet it carried the weight of a thunderclap.
I know what you're hiding. The truth about Zane Martell, the one they call Death.
The name hung heavy in the air, a ghost from Zane's past that he had desperately tried to outrun. The fragile silence was shattered as the scene erupted in chaos. The door burst open, and disciples of the Godwill sect stormed in, their intentions clear and their resolve unwavering. They were a force of nature, clad in dark robes, their faces obscured but their auras unmistakably powerful. The trap was sprung, and Zane Martell found himself surrounded, his fate hanging by a thread. The disciples moved with precision, their movements a testament to their training and the seriousness of their mission. Zane's heart raced as he assessed the situation, his mind a whirl of strategies and countermeasures.
We won't go down without a fight.
Zane's voice rang out, a beacon of defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. But against the might of the Godwill sect, even the Wolf Prince of Dark Wolf Hall stood little chance. The disciples advanced, their expressions cold and determined, ready to do whatever it took to capture their prey.
Tear off his and disable his cultivation before bringing him back to the Godwill sect. By then, I will use the most brutal method in the world on him, so that he will tell us Zane's whereabouts. Go.
The disciples, a dozen strong, all at the 7th stage of the martial spirit realm, responded with chilling precision.
Understood.
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 They immediately rushed toward Zane Martell. Caleb Pierce, shocked by the sudden turn of events, quickly yelled out, trying to avert the disaster.
Get out of the way!
Zane Martell frowned at the scene, a mix of determination and resignation in his eyes. He knew the odds were stacked against them, but he stood his ground, his mind racing with potential strategies.
Go to hell.
And as the disciples closed in, the fate of Zane Martell and his allies hung in the balance. What will become of Zane Martell and his companions? Will they escape the clutches of the Godwill sect, or will they succumb to its relentless pursuit?